He's Jim Stewart, I'm Rick Collins, and this is Off the Bench. Today we've got an NBA review, star season, 1/5 the way there. Not sure what we're looking at right now. Mavericks get a win finally. Not a bull, a ball in a China shop. And oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the sports news is so delightful. And since we've got no place to go,
Let's go. All right, so we're starting out with Big Trouble in Little China. The balls have made headlines again, though it's a little bit more serious than Lavar Ball just running
You'll
his
get
mouth.
It right someday.
Yeah, someday. But I don't respect him, so I just don't try to learn his name. But it's a little bit more serious now. So
very serious for all of UCLA.
UCLA decided, I guess the NCAA wants to expand their brand into China. So they sent 2 teams to China to play a game.
UCLA and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, to play a game in China. And while they were there, apparently the balls don't look at world affairs and world culture because they decided that they were going to go and steal some sunglasses from a Louis Vuitton store in China.
Near their hotel.
Yeah, in China. Which, you know, they don't
put up with anything like that.
No, and they're lucky that maybe, I think there's probably some political pressure from the president to maybe try, because he was over there on a trip visiting China. I bet he tried to get him out. They're out on bail. But the real question is China has every right to hold them as long as they want. They
it looks
put
like
them in prison.
3 to 10 years is what they're facing if they are found guilty of theft. Look. You go to...
It's so stupid because they can afford it.
You go to a foreign country, just don't do anything. It's just stupid to do anything like
especially in a place like China where they don't care about the U.S. They will hold you hostage for the smallest of things. So this is
you don't even have to be an American. They do this to all foreigners. They're very serious about the way they want foreigners to behave in their country.
So let's say the middle child of the Ball family is
LiAngelo Ball.
LiAngelo Ball, and he is the least talented of the Balls. And I think you told us what Lavar Ball has said. Lavar Ball has said.
You'll get it right.
Yes, I will. Lavar Ball has said in the past that 2 out of the 3 kids will make it to the NBA.
Whereas most families, let's say 0 out of 3 kids make it to the NBA, he says, well, you know, only 2 out of 3 can make it. So I guess LiAngelo has no confidence from his father, which is sad. I mean, you know, he's the middle child. He's between 2 players, one who's already in the NBA, starting as a point guard
and
for the Los Angeles. And he's doing fine. He's expected to do better, but I mean, he's doing well enough to be a starter in the NBA right now. And then LaMelo Ball, who's about to go to UCLA. Well,
maybe
if they figure out this whole shoe deal, that could change the whole landscape of the NCAA. It's very interesting to see what happens there. LiAngelo,
whatever his name is, the trouble child, might change things because I don't know if UCLA wants to deal with the Ball family after this because Lavar is already a problem when it comes to the media and branding for not only him but UCLA because those 2 are linked.
Yeah.
Because you remember UCLA signed or promised to commit all 3 of their kids to UCLA. So now UCLA has a brand problem because now they have problem children coming in, and they are children. They act like children. They might be 18, 19 years old, but they've got the maturity level. Not Lonzo. Lonzo was a pretty mature kid, but these 2 others really have been spoiled.
So good.
Because, you know, Lonzo Ball was there when no one really cared about the Balls.
Yeah.
So he wasn't spoiled. He wasn't all that.
Yeah, nothing really came out until Lonzo started becoming a potential top draft pick in the NBA draft, and that's when everything kind of exploded around. Like
LaMelo has they gave him a Lamborghini, and these kids are getting spoiled and pampered and entitled.
You know, they're part of that AAU culture too.
Yes. So what we've got to do is there's been a response from UCLA. I will read it right now. It says, we are aware of the situation involving UCLA student athletes in China. The university is cooperating fully with local authorities. That is interesting because UCLA usually can probably put a little bit of pressure on them to let them go. That ain't happening.
That's not happening in China.
They are fully cooperating with local authorities on this matter, and we have no further comment at this time. I honestly think they're going to let him go off the team. This is almost an international incident now.
Well, all three of these players, I think, Cody Riley and Jalen Hill also involved in this. I don't know that they're not going to get away with at least a long-term suspension from the school. It'll be forced upon the team by the school. There's no way UCLA is going to just allow this to pass by. And then we don't know if they're found guilty and China decides they want to put them in jail for 3 years. There's nothing we can do.
Nope. I mean, the balls can throw as many fits as they want. Lavar can be as boisterous as he wants to be.
Try and pay somebody off, but it's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work in China because what they are doing now is China's government is probably getting involved saying, you know what, we have a chance to make a point on these rich American entitled kids that come over here, that these tourists think that they can come to China and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They're going to make an example of these kids. Unless some person in the government, like the president or the vice president or someone, cares enough about the Ball family and these kids to put enough pressure that could have diplomatic ramifications in the future for these three kids. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
I don't think it's enough. And also, let's look at the other side of it. Does the Ball brand take a hit from this? I don't think so. I think... Look, LaVar Ball, for me, it's any press, any media, opportunity is good for them.
I mean, I think
it doesn't matter if it's good or bad.
They could make a branding slogan as in, we do anything we want, we just ball.
Yeah.
Or something along that line.
That is what the Big Baller brand is about, is they don't care about the rules, they don't care about the laws, they're just going to play basketball.
And unfortunately, that really does resonate with young millennials. Older millennials, maybe not so much, but these young millennials, they don't care. They feel entitled to everything, they feel they can do whatever they want. In a lot of ways, this resonates with
them. It's just, can they afford these shoes? Because $400, $500 for a pair of shoes is pretty out of reach for most people. Yes. At least most people who are committed to, taking care of their kids, their family, paying for their house, and things that are important.
So do you think this is a big enough
$400,
incident?
$500 shoes important.
Not only to affect the Balls when it comes to LiAngelo and LaMelo going to UCLA, because it could end all that.
Yeah.
Because the school can say, we're done.
Yeah.
They could decommit to all three to both of those kids, because LaMelo isn't even there, and LiAngelo, they have a legitimate excuse. They can say, we don't have criminals. I don't think he's really
that great of a player.
Yeah, and they can say, we don't deal with criminals. You're out. So, or do you think this could force the NCAA to make some rule changes that are a little bit more harsh on these, not the kids, but these programs leading kids into that style of
I don't think
thought?
so. I think the problem is that you're not going to see any changes from the NCAA level. What they're looking for is more of, the situation with LaMelo and the shoes. Are they going to allow
they care more about
Are
that?
they going to change? Yes, absolutely, because it's about money being made by the students. They don't care about behavioral issues. We've seen they don't care about behavioral issues. They occur all the time. These kids go from program to program within the NCAA.
You mostly see it in football, but
you see it. That's based out of the program, not the NCAA. So I don't think you'll see that change. I think that we're going to see something from LaVar in the next couple of days, because I'd be surprised if he continues to be as quiet as he has been.
I'm looking forward to see how he reacts to the way the media is going to take this. Because every single talk show, The Herd, He's
already said it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. How is this not a big deal?
Because it's not related to basketball, apparently. Oh. But here's the issue.
Unless his kid doesn't get to play there anymore.
I want to see how he interacts with these big-time media personalities who are going to jump all over him.
Yeah.
He's going to say, you've done a bad parenting job, you've done this, you've done that, do you not teach? You're so worried about your brand that you're letting your kids do whatever they want, with horrible ramifications.
Yeah, he took LaMelo out of high school so that he could teach him at home. He's teaching him how to play basketball, not teach him anything.
So he's probably going to not end with a GED, unless he's probably going to get paid someone to get him passing the GED, so he can go play basketball at UCLA or go play. If he's going to go play overseas, education doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if he's going to go to UCLA and they're going to figure that out, he has to have a GED to get into college.
LaVar Ball's the kind of guy who would try and start a league just for his kids to play professional basketball in an organization that he has control over. Like an NBA Light or a G League or whatever they're calling it now. He's just
they can do a professional AAU.
Yeah, exactly. But he's completely out of his mind, and he thinks that's going to work.
And you know what? I think at some point he was a good father.
Yeah.
But I think right now
this has all gone to his head.
It has gone to his head. I think in a lot of ways, even though he's living through his kids, this is the Lavar Ball show.
Yes.
It's all about him. This is his chance to be famous, his chance for money, and he's really using his kids as a vehicle to be able to reach that fame and that money. Because I can guarantee you, as soon as all those kids either make it into the NFL or don't, he's going to open up an agency.
The NBA, but...
No. Lavar is going to open up an agency, and he's going to start representing players that aren't in the NBA yet.
Oh, yeah.
I can see that.
You said the NFL, so...
Sorry, NBA. If they don't make the NBA, whether 2 of them or 3 of them or just Lavar go to the NBA, he's going to open up some sort of either marketing company or some sort of agency where he's going to be representing kids that are trying to get into professional sports.
And he'll promote it as he's doing something beneficial for the community. They can't afford to hire a real agent and all this stuff, but he'll make a ton of money doing something illegal on the back end.
So now we dribble the ball from Trouble in Little China to the NBA when we get back. Next.
We're so excited to invite you to our Stacy Furniture Anniversary Sale.
Save today on Stacy's outstanding selection, up to 50% off select items throughout the store.
Now's the time to buy that new bedroom, living room, or dining room suit. You can't beat these prices anywhere.
Name brands like Bernhard, Hooker, Universal, and Cheryl, all on sale today.
It's Stacy's Anniversary Sale, only happens once a year.
Shop Stacy's today or visit us online at stacyfurniture.com.
Remember, when you're shopping at Stacy's, you're shopping with family.
Last night, the Mavericks finally got a win. They got a win over the Washington Wizards. The Wizards have struggled a little bit recently, but this is
they haven't struggled as much as the Mavs.
Considered to be a good team, and the Mavericks have been terrible. So it was a huge win for the Mavericks, and I think it's going to be tough for them to get any kind of roll going because November is going to be awful. But look, even without Dirk, the Mavericks were able to get a win. And what I mean by that is not that he didn't play, because he did play. Dirk was not a producer in this game whatsoever. He was not really a part of this game. The game was fast-paced. Both teams like to run with the ball. This was not the kind of game where Dirk was going to come up big, but Harrison Barnes and Dennis Smith were huge for the Mavericks.
This is the first time this season that Harrison Barnes scored like he did last year. And we had backup a little bit by Wesley Matthews. He did decent.
Yeah.
And Dennis Smith Jr. really showed a bit more of what he could do with 22, 8, and 8. Yeah. 22 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. That's not bad. That's almost a triple-double.
That is what we want from a guy that is expected to be a top 3 pick.
He played a little bit more. He played with more explosion and more control at the same time.
He got his dunks when there was free space to get a dunk.
Even in tight space, but he still had the space. He's not trying to force himself up to make a dunk.
And his jump shot looked great.
It did look great. You know, he doesn't have the same problem. A lot of these prospects coming out like Lamar Ball, Lonzo Ball, whatever the ball is, just whatever Ball plays for.
I promise we're going to work with him on this. He'll have it right by the end of the year.
Lonzo Ball has a weird shot, and luckily for us, Dennis Smith Jr. does not. And he's going to be learning from Harrison Barnes and Dirk Nowitzki, who have pretty close to perfect shots. High release, straight up shots, and it feels like Dennis Smith Jr. is absorbing knowledge and technique from those two players, which is going to do really,
I think
really
Harrison Barnes is like the big brother for him. You know, I know Dirk's got a lot to offer, but his game is so different.
And the age difference.
I don't think he's going to. But Harrison Barnes is perfect for Dennis Smith to learn from, because Harrison Barnes is an inside-outside guy. He can take the ball to the basket, but he has a great three-point shot. He has a good mid-range. I think there's a lot Dennis Smith Jr., especially that mid-range, that he can really learn from Harrison Barnes, creating space and things like that. But look, if Barnes is going to shoot as well as he did last night, I see potential for this Mavericks team to get more wins. He was 11 of 18, and that's exactly what you expect from a superstar. Now, I say that superstar in quotation marks because he's not really a superstar yet. But he's the Mavericks superstar.
No, but based on what he did last year, he should be a superstar.
He's the Mavericks version of a superstar, which right now is
But the problem is he doesn't have the social media and media presence to be a superstar. He has the talent, he has the numbers.
Well, he's still early in the league, and the way he was used at Golden State was not as a guy they expected to score 20-plus points.
But last year, here's the thing. Last year, when they focused on him, the problem ended up being is that he was scoring and rebounding close to the same numbers as a Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
He had the numbers Blake Griffin had when it comes to scoring. He maybe didn't have the rebounds, but he had more assists. He is someone who should be in the star, if not superstar range. But he's not because, like I said, he's he's an introvert. You don't hear a lot from him.
Well, also this Mavericks team is not very good. If they were much better, I think you would see people talk about him more.
Do you think the Greek Freak is...
oh, yeah. People are talking about him all the time.
Are the Bucks good?
The Milwaukee Bucks are much better than the Mavericks are right now. Yes, they were in the playoffs.
Okay, if you think they're a good team.
They are a good team. Jason
Kidd
Kidd
just because they're in the East.
Well, that certainly helps, but the Mavericks are not the team that the Milwaukee Bucks are.
But let's talk about who really, I think, should be applauded for what this turnaround with the team. It's the off-the-bench energy guys. J.J. Barea played the way J.J. Barea always does. He's high-pace, high energy. He doesn't ever take a play off. And Mejri had a double-double last night.
Yeah.
He came in and gave that defensive presence. And the biggest thing no one's talking about is what is going on with Noel?
Yeah, 6 minutes is not going to do it.
I thought he demanded $20 million a year. He wanted max contract money. And we were willing to play him.
What we saw from Mejri last night is what we expect to see from Noel, and we haven't.
We just have not seen it. And the problem is also Noel doesn't have the body to be able to play defense and a lot of times offense against normal centers. Adams, Boogie Cousins, Gortat, they are 250 pounds or more.
Yeah.
He can't, and he weighs maybe 218, maybe 220, and he's lanky, which means he doesn't have that power to be able to back guys in and dunk on them because all they have to do is stand.
And that's not saying a whole lot because Mejri is not a big guy. He's bigger than Noel, but he's not a big guy. He's not a real strong player.
He plays like a big man.
But he plays much more like a big man. Noel
plays like that.
A little bit more finesse style. Defensively, he doesn't have a lower center of gravity, and I don't know what it is, but he just doesn't position himself well. We talked about this before. It's his body positioning.
Yes, he likes coming on the weak side block and swatting.
Mejri's able to body up against guys. They're able to back him down, but because of how he positions himself, he's still able to get his hand on the ball.
Noel likes those weak side blocks. He likes to come in and help someone who is getting overwhelmed and get that shot block where he is not someone who can anchor himself in the paint. Stop a big body, a big center coming in. Even power forwards. Aldridge probably could move Noel around when it comes to in the paint, and that's not good. Marc Gasol, even these older players. I bet you, we haven't seen it, I bet you Dirk can move him around in the paint too, and that's not a good thing. Because Dirk has had to learn how to move people in the paint. I'm just really glad right now that we didn't end up paying him.
Yeah.
As much as we all wanted it to happen last year, because, man, he was showing us highlight reel dunks all the time last year in his limited minutes. He has not shown anything.
I think a lot of us thought, though, yes, we'd like to see him, but we didn't want to see him at $20+ million a year. I think the 15 to 17 range was probably right. The Mavericks made a generous offer, and he declined it. I think the way it settled out is probably the way it should have settled out. We got a one-year deal for a decent amount, a chunk of change, but not a ton, and we don't have a commitment. If he plays well, great. If he doesn't,
as of right now,
we're not a good team right now, so does it even matter? If he played great, yes, that's awesome, because then we start packaging a team together for the future. But if we don't play great and he's not great, it doesn't really affect the team long term.
As of right now,
we can bring somebody else in and keep building.
I would be really surprised if he even demanded $15 million in the league. The fact that on the Mavericks, a team that needs a center, he's getting 6 to 10 minutes a game.
Yeah, it's not a good look. I mean, maybe he becomes a JaVale McGee. He goes to a Golden State Warriors and shows what he can do as a backup. Yeah,
like an energy guy.
Bring off the bench for 10 minutes a game, and he gets you, 3 or 4 lob dunks and 4 or 5 rebounds.
I think he is more of the high-paced, high-moving team center. He's the one that's running the floor with everybody else, being able to.
But you saw the Mavericks wanted to run the floor last night, and he couldn't do it. He wasn't capable of playing the way that they wanted to play last night, even in a fast-paced game, because that's the way Washington plays. Bradley Beal, John Wall, Marcin Gortat, that team is built for fast-paced ball. It was a fast-paced game. Look how many points the Mavericks scored. 113? When was the last time they scored 113? I can't remember.
That was before the Rondo trade, I think.
They have struggled to score points this year, and this was a game where they didn't, and part of it was the pace of the game. When they've got a team that they can play fast with and not worry about, the half-court defense, they play much better. You want to get Dennis Smith Jr. and Harrison Barnes out there. So I think it was a game where you would expect that Noel would play and play well, and he couldn't stay on the court.
And not just that, the Mavs shot well from the field. Yes. They shot 47.3%. But he also
really
shot
well for them this year because they've been
shot
bad.
80% from the free throw line. But now let's not jump the gun.
One game.
Washington has lost 5 out of the last 7 games.
Yeah.
So that's like us going last year and beating Philly.
Yeah.
When they didn't have Ben Simmons or anybody else and they were playing horribly and going, man, we had a great game. I think we're going to turn the season around. I think we need to accept the wins when they come. Yeah. But we can't expect it from this team.
I think one of the things we can keep looking at is each individual player. How are they playing in that game? How are they
for next
playing
year.
consistently?
Or the year after that.
Because, we're playing for next year or the year
after that.
Oh, you'll have to read more from Dwayne Price on UnifiedFrisco.com. But this is a team that I don't expect to make the playoffs. I don't think a whole lot of people do. And maybe Dwayne has hopes that I don't have, that maybe you don't have either. That, look, we've got to think about each of the pieces and what pieces will continue to be a part of the puzzle of this Mavericks team going forward.
Oh, yeah. The Mavericks right now are 2-10. 2-10.
Worst
We're the worst team in the league. And this isn't going to change. I mean, unless we run into some teams that are maybe off a back-to-back and are really struggling.
Or a Spurs team that decides to sit everybody, even though I'm not sure the NBA is going to allow it.
I don't see us winning 20 games this year.
No, it's going to be tough. And after winning 35 last year, yes.
If we get a first to 3 picks,
baby,
this is a good draft class.
Really good draft class. And we've talked about it before, and we'll continue talking about it. We'll be giving updates as the season starts.
And we're a young team. So the great part about what we are now, we are a young team.
You bring in another rookie piece.
We can sacrifice a year. Not that we want to.
No.
We can sacrifice a year to build in another really good piece.
We have to seriously look at it at this point.
Because I hate to say it, the 76ers did a great job.
We're an eighth of the way through the season, and we're looking not unlike what the Sixers looked like 4 years ago.
For the first 3 or 4 years, the 76ers have been horrible, and they've done it on purpose.
Yeah.
They got Embiid, they got Ben Simmons, they've got a whole bunch of star players, and now they look like monsters.
Yeah.
They have basically, and I know you and I have differing opinions on the literal interpretation of the position, but they have a 6'10" point guard in Ben Simmons. I know you call it a point forward, but he's the guy who brings the ball up the court 80% of the time. I call that a point guard. Sorry, but their whole team has that feel of 6'8", 6'9", 7 foot,
all
7 foot
athletic
2.
guys who can shoot,
and they're lanky and tall. And the problem is unless you have someone, the kryptonite maybe to them is maybe like a JJ Barea. Having a JJ Barea on the team where you can get around them, but having like 5 JJ Bareas on your team, it's not going to help us. Because you've got Yogi, you've got JJ, you've got Dennis, who's not the tallest guy in the world either.
Devin Harris,
who's maybe 6'2". We've got a very small backcourt. Yeah. Very small.
Yeah, Dennis Smith Jr. should probably end up being the shortest guy in our backcourt next year. Yes. And I think we can talk about that later on.
One last thing.
We need to talk more about point guards, though.
One last thing. This is how crazy it is for the Mavs right now. Harrison Barnes started at center last night. He jumped
because they realized that Dirk can't start at center. He is not a center.
He's a stretch 4.
He's a stretch 4. That's it.
Anyway, when we get back, we'll be finishing off the NBA talk and then diving into NCAA and football.
Yeah.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
So another point guard that we were talking about outside of the point forward of Ben Simmons in the East is Kyrie Irving and what he's meant to the Celtics team, even without Gordon Hayward out. He's been phenomenal so far this year. They've rattled off, I believe, 9 straight wins in a row. They beat the Hawks this weekend. The Hawks aren't good, but they just keep winning. And Kyrie Irving's been a big part of that. And the East now is like the point guard central because with Kyrie Irving now with Celtics, LeBron's playing point forward for the Cavaliers. Ben Simmons playing point forward for the Sixers. So there's a lot of point play going around, and it seems like we're getting more of these big guys who can pass and play, out.
And it really, all this point guard drama really started right at the end of the offseason when Kyrie got traded to the Celtics. Everybody and their mother said, why would you want to leave the situation where you have LeBron James to hand the ball to when you're covered, right? When you don't have to shoulder the load as much. But people forgot. He shouldered the load for 2 or 3 years.
But I feel like that Kyrie Irving saw what was coming with the Cavaliers right now.
There's no doubt.
And the Cavaliers are struggling, and I think, bringing in a lot of it. They're the oldest team in the league by far, 31 and a half years old on average.
I don't think he didn't see the writing on the wall for this year. He saw the writing on the wall for next year, the year after that, the year after that, which is LeBron leaving.
And LeBron leaving and this team being aged, and now I'm going to be by myself probably at some point.
Like he was before LeBron got there.
And so he saw what was going on in Boston and said, that sounds like something I want to be a part of. I want to be a leader on a young team that is developing a lot of great talent and bringing in Gordon Hayward, who can be that guy that LeBron isn't, that Kyrie needs. Mm-hmm. So Gordon Hayward's not going to be that overpowering voice. Kyrie can be the voice.
Well, he's
Gordon
not going to overpower anything right now with that ankle.
No, unfortunately, he's going to be out for the entire season, if not probably part of next season would be my guess. I mean, that was really horrific injury.
Well, he's lucky enough to have it where he's going to probably have a complete year to recover because it was the very first 5 minutes of the first game.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But let's look at it this way. The first 10 games that Kyrie Irving played, he was horrible the first couple games. And it doesn't, and rightfully so. His whole world got mixed up when Hayward got really, really hurt. When that injury happened in the first game, because now his number one target outside of himself goes down.
Yeah.
He had no chance to adjust. So the first couple games he really struggled. He shot under 30%. He had horrible assist numbers. He couldn't rebound at all. But since then, that was about the first 3 or 4 games. Since then, he has played so well that his season average now is 22.3 points per game.
Yeah.
He has around 5.7 assists per game, and he has around 4 rebounds a game. And that's with a horrible start. Yeah. He's shooting around the 40% range right now in the field, where he was shooting 16.
Yeah.
I think he's really turned it around. He's now figured out how to adjust from having a team of adequate tools around him to now having just subpar tools. Doesn't mean that the players that he has isn't going to turn into something special. Tatum and a lot of these younger players. But the problem is now he is the veteran leader. All the rest of these guys are almost brand new. They're 1 or 2 years in the league. You can't lean on them.
Yeah.
They don't, you can maybe lean on Tatum, but he doesn't have enough game footage, enough game time. He knows that 30, 40 games down the road, he's going to hit that rookie wall.
Yeah.
That rookie wall is going to take a lot of these players out because they're not used to playing that long, they're going to be fatigued, tired. Their shots are going to
clearly losing Gordon Hayward is going to be really difficult for them, especially once they get to that 50-game mark. Once they get close to closing down a playoff spot, and the playoffs, I think, is where you're going to see Boston really start to struggle because they don't have a lot of the veteran leadership that you need going into the playoffs to win a series against a team like the Cavaliers.
And leading into this, Boston has won the last 9 games that they've played. And they're
talented. They're extremely
very talented. And the Celtics have made more corner threes this year than any other team. And Jason Tatum is shooting 81% of those shots. Not 81% of his own shots. He's taking 81% of the team shots from the corners.
Yeah.
And what has happened now is he has proven himself to be a reliable option. He had a game-winning 3 2 games ago when they were playing.
And he's not expected to be really their outside shooter.
They're playing the Hawks, and they had a last-minute 3, the last moment of the game. And he had a corner 3 that it seemed automatic from him that he made that shot.
Well, and they've asked him to do that because Gordon Hayward being out and not, having a guy who's going to be the consistent jump shooter from the outside of Kyrie Irving. Now, Tatum's got to step up and do that. The expectation for him beforehand was really to be the guy who was going to rebound, hustle, get steals, play good defense, and now they're expecting him to be a scorer. And he's stepping up and doing it. And this is a guy who, he doesn't have the experience, but he's got the maturity, he's got the skill set to do it. So, just stepping up and doing what he's expected to do.
And the interesting part of it is that the Cavaliers had an effect. The trade, people thought the Cavs were going to be fine. They brought in Derrick Rose. They have
Dwayne Wade.
What's his name? Hip injury. Isaiah Thomas,
yes.
And what happened is that I don't think the Cavs realized, or if they did realize, they didn't really express it, how much of a void Kyrie Irving not being there was. Because now LeBron James is that point forward for that team because they can't rely on Derrick Rose because he's on the field, off the field, on the court, off the court. He's constantly getting hurt, like his career. Maybe it's not catastrophic injuries, but he's pulling things.
And Dwayne Wade can't play 30 minutes a night.
No, he can't. So what it is they're now leaning on LeBron again. And the team has been struggling.
And he can put up monster numbers, which he's putting up the best numbers of his career so far.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter if you can't get everybody else involved on the team, and
he's got to score 70, 80 points a game if if that kind of ball is going to work. And so then you turn to someone who is, a couple hundred miles from him in Philadelphia with Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons is a 6'10" point guard. He is going along.
Point forward.
No, point guard because he is in the same. He is basically the same person as Magic Johnson was. Everybody really points towards LeBron James. But his style of play, not who he is. His style of play is more towards Magic Johnson than it is LeBron James. LeBron James was that freak athlete who could shoot anywhere on the floor, and even threes, and he wasn't the greatest three-point shooter at the beginning of his career, but he got better. Ben Simmons is more of a pass-first point guard, like Magic was. He can score when he needs to. He can get to the basket if he needs to.
Yes.
He can really force mismatches on that where they have to move forwards and centers onto him, which means there's mismatches everywhere else. And Embiid is a monster.
Well, and of course, when you have Markelle Fultz injured and not healthy, you've got to have somebody who can run the point, and they're leaning on him.
Even when Fultz comes back, he's not going to run
Fultz will be the point guard when he comes back. That's the way they drafted him for. That's the way it'll play out. But
I say shooting guard.
Without Fultz, Ben Simmons is the point guard.
And he looks like a superstar.
The way he can play, yes, but he can't shoot. I think once there's more tape on him, I think teams will learn how to play him. They're going to force him to shoot from the outside the way LeBron was forced to shoot from the outside early in his career.
Against the Pacers.
He's going to have to improve his shot.
But against the Pacers, he had a triple-double. 10 games into his rookie season, he has a triple-double. And I see that happening more often. Maybe he doesn't score 20, 30 points like the other point guards do. but he's going to get more rebounds. He's probably going to get a lot more
he'll
assists.
be the best rebounding point guard
in the league. But the other side is that at 6'9", he's able to see the floor differently than a Kyrie Irving or a Fultz. The problem is that, like you said, he needs to work on his shot. And I think that's not going to be this year. He's probably going to have to work all off season on that. The last 2 years that he's in his life, he's had to recover from his injury and make sure he's fine. Now that they know he's fine, he's going to now have to work on his shooting game.
Yeah.
But he has one big asset in his arsenal, and that is Joel Embiid.
Yes.
All he has to do is hand it to him. Joel Embiid is basically
as long as they're healthy, that's going to be great for them.
He's a Shaquille O'Neal who can shoot threes.
As long as Joel's healthy, I think that's really going to help Ben Simmons. But remember, this is a team that struggled with health over the last 2 or 3 years, and I don't know, can these guys stay healthy? Already their number 1 pick from this year is injured. It seems like they're destined to sit out their first-round picks every year for their first year. They're redshirting all their rookies.
Yes.
Bring him in. And actually, it seems to be working out because it seems like Embiid, now that he's healthy, is playing great. He's playing better than he could play before. Ben Simmons seems to be playing great, shooting a lot better than he did when he first came out after the injury. So maybe it works out well for this team in the future. And Saric, I think he can still play. He's still a part of this team, and he can score. He's a great option for them at the small forward position if you're going to have to play Ben Simmons at point guard or shooting guard. So you've got a team to build around here. I think the 76ers are on the right path, a path that we have argued the Mavericks
should have taken.
Should have and might be taking. We'll see what happens.
But wrapping up this NBA segment, we've got to talk a little bit of Milwaukee Bucks. They are finalizing a deal with Drew Bledsoe.
No, Eric Bledsoe. Not the quarterback, Drew Bledsoe, yeah.
It's a cold, rainy day. It's affected my whole...
Your brain's just...
My brain, So it's Eric Bledsoe from the Phoenix Suns.
Correct.
He's been a bit of a problem child over there. He demanded in a very nonchalant way.
He never should have signed that contract with them because it didn't make sense. Everybody during that contract talk was thinking, why would he sign with the Phoenix Suns? They could offer him the most money, so he was going to get the most money. But that team was going to be terrible. Everybody knew that team was going to be terrible.
And then Booker came and some other people they brought in, and it really forced him out. Dragic was there at the time when he signed that. They were so point guard heavy. Or guard heavy.
Yes. It didn't make sense.
It made no sense.
Yeah, and everybody thought he needed to go sign somewhere else where they were looking for a point guard to lead a team that was already built up.
Now the question is...
And now he goes and does exactly what he should have done in the first place.
Is his attitude and baggage going to follow him to Milwaukee?
No, I don't think so. I think Milwaukee, the way they're playing and having the
point guard head coach.
Yes, with a point guard head coach. I really think it's going to be great. They really needed a point guard. They've been playing Matthew Dellavedova at point guard, which I like Dellavedova as a backup.
He's a stringy defender, but that's about all he's got.
But I like him as a backup. I like him as an energy guy to bring on the court with your second team to run a fast-paced offense. Yes, but bigger and can play defense. But I like Dellavedova in that position. I really like this trade for Milwaukee. I think Greg Monroe was really he hadn't really moved into this offense. He didn't work well with the way they wanted to play. Losing him was fine. Now, the only question is, how much are they going to miss those 2 draft picks, the first-round, second-round draft picks for next year? I don't know. They may play so well that draft pick ends up being 16, 17, 18, and it's not that great of a pick. In the second-round pick, maybe it was something they could have held on to for another trade. But look, if they want to make a run this year, this was the trade they need to make.
And with that speedy conclusion to this subject, we're going to move on to our speed round.
We're going to get speedier. Next. Is
that a word?
It is. As exciting as the college football weekend was, the college football playoff rankings did not change.
No, they did not change. There was some movement in the lower part of the top 10, but really the teams that are expected to go or have a chance to go into the playoffs, the top 4, didn't change. No. It's Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Oklahoma, and TCU. Now, TCU, Oklahoma is going to determine which one of those teams gets in the top 4, because I don't care if Oklahoma and TCU, who are 5 and 6, if Oklahoma can beat TCU, they're automatically, or the other way around, whatever team wins is automatically in the top 4, because no one else in that top 4 has any kind of competition like that for the rest of the year.
Remember that Notre Dame is playing Miami. If Miami wins that game, they probably don't leapfrog Oklahoma or TCU.
Miami's 7.
Yeah, they won't leapfrog. They'll move up to 6.
But Clemson isn't playing anybody.
But Notre Dame will drop, and that gives an opening for OU to jump in, and then Clemson not playing anybody.
But at that point,
helps as well.
Clemson, their strength of schedule is gone. They're a one-loss team. So whichever one of these other 2 teams in Alabama or in Oklahoma and TCU move up, what happens then is they got to look at strength of the schedule.
And I think Clemson would be the team that would fall. You would see probably Clemson and Notre Dame fall one position, Oklahoma or TCU jumping up. I'd be surprised if TCU wins, it's going to make it very confusing. I think if Oklahoma wins with their strength of schedule, they certainly would move up to that 4th spot. TCU beats Oklahoma. I don't know. Maybe Miami leapfrogs if they beat Notre Dame. That would be pretty wild.
This weekend is going to make next week crazy.
And we keep saying that, but it's seriously weekend by weekend. We don't know what's going to happen.
Think of it this way. So Miami and Notre Dame, which is 6 and 4 or 6 and 3.
Yeah.
Whoever wins that game is going to
7 and 3, and then 5 and 6. Those are, I mean, 2 huge matchups.
2 huge matchups, and what it is really we're looking also at the conferences, and right now, the Big 12 looks to be either the strongest conference when it comes to the amount of teams in either the top 10 or the top 15, or they're second in the conference. The amount of the Power 5 conferences. So I think
then it's weird that
it's weird to say that, because usually that's not the case.
Well, the SEC has had a down year, and Georgia and Alabama are definitely the top 2 teams in the country. But
regardless, they're not going to move.
They're not going to move, and
because no one predicts anybody. These 2 teams are not going to lose a game until they go against each other.
Yeah.
And whatever one that's number 1 and number 2 playing each other. If one of them is a one-loss team, they'll maybe leapfrog each other, or Georgia will stay at the top. But other than that, it's not going to.
Yeah, it's really not going to make any effect. At 3 and 4 are the question positions. Who's going to be there?
Alabama might move down to 4.
There's 6 or 7 teams who could fit into those spots, which is just crazy at this point. Well, you would have thought somebody had gotten the second.
You know what's even crazier? This is a crazy notion. Crazy. If Alabama loses to Georgia.
Yeah,
there is a chance that they drop. That doesn't mean
to 5.
No, not to 5. But even if they drop to 4, does that mean that Alabama plays Georgia again in the first round?
Yes, it's possible. But they could also drop out. There's talk that if Wisconsin goes undefeated and Miami goes undefeated, that they could jump up with an Oklahoma and take the 3, 3, and 4 spots.
Because Alabama has not played.
That Alabama or Georgia could be out.
Because Alabama has not played anybody this year. They had 2 games this year against teams that aren't even in Division I.
Look, the college football.
They did Lafayette, Louisiana Lafayette, and some other team that is the same.
Their strength of schedule is weak.
Oh, no, weak is an understatement or an overstatement. It is crazy how weak they schedule themselves.
The college football playoff people are hoping that Wisconsin and Miami lose.
Yes.
Because that will make their decision so much easier.
Because what's going to happen is if Alabama loses, it won't be this week. I think it's next week or a week after that Alabama Georgia play.
Yeah.
If Alabama loses, that puts the entire committee on call, because what happens is if they leave them up there, everything that they talked about fairness goes out the window.
Yeah.
Because they've been talking about strength of schedule and all that. But then if they do drop them out of the playoffs, every single analyst in the world is going to go, you can't take one of the top 4 teams out of the playoff. That's just
all right.
ridiculous.
Thursday night football. Should it go away? They're already talking about it. We've talked about it before, but they're actually talking about it potentially going away. What do you think?
I like that there's football on Thursdays. It's a good start to the weekend coming up.
An extended weekend?
Yes. But the problem is they put garbage teams out there. Now, if they put good teams out there, it would be different. It would be like the bright spot in the week. But the problem is they put garbage teams, like you said. It feels like every weekend it's a Colts Browns or a Miami New York Jets or Cincinnati Bills.
Yeah.
They're garbage. No one wants to watch them.
And CBS Sports Chairman Sean McManus said that he thinks it probably should go away because right now he feels like they're losing money on it. And
but that's more of an
said this to
NFL
Wall Street Journal. I mean, yes, but CBS is actually so CBS and NBC paid a combined $450 million annually for Thursday Night Football. That contract expires after this season.
But what happened?
It could be over.
But it was from the get-go. It was NFL Network that held Thursday Night Football. That's the way it always was. And I don't know if it changed a little bit in the last couple of years, but the NFL paid out of their own pocket.
Well, they're going to have to pay out of their own pocket again because I think CBS and NBC, they're going to drop it. NFL is going to have to pay it out of their pocket if they want Thursday Night Football to survive because these major networks, they don't want it anymore. They're losing money on it. So I think Thursday Night Football is going to be a serious issue coming up on next year. Next. Are the Stars a playoff team this year?
I think they've got enough talent to get into the playoffs. We've got Ben Bishop, who is doing a great job in goal. It's really the only person that they're scoring with are their star players. They aren't getting much help from the rest
top
of the team.
line has been great, but it does seem like the depth is just not there right now. I don't know if it's a talent level. We talk about all the talent that they have, all this young talent.
But this has been a big change year.
Yeah.
So what it is that chemistry might not be there yet. And can you guys imagine?
We got to learn from a new coach. You got to bring a new coach.
Can you guys imagine what it's like to play hockey? That is one of probably the biggest chemistry, other than basketball, one of the biggest chemistry sports in the world because this puck is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you've got to anticipate where the guy's going to be before you pass it.
Yeah.
You see a lot of times the guy's dribbling just tosses it back to someone coming behind. That only happens through repetition of playing with each other.
And it's not so easy to just turn on a dime and go back on defense either.
No.
So you've got to make sure that those passes are clean. Otherwise, you end up with 2-on-1s or 3-on-1s.
And if that chemistry isn't there, they've got to slow the game down. Yeah. The problem is they've got to slow the game down to make sure that it's a clear pass. And when that happens, it changes everything.
And you've got a lot of players like Seguin who love to play in that up pace and like to score a lot of goals. And they haven't been scoring a lot of goals so far. So I think there are issues that they need to overcome. Their record is okay right now. I think 8-7 at this point under a new coach is good, but it's not what we expected.
But they have 5 road losses.
Yeah, and that's
5 road losses. And the problem is you cannot just be a home team.
Yeah.
In the NHL, you've got to be able to pull some wins out outside. Because if you're a 500 team in the NBA, you have a shot. If you're a 500 team in the NHL, you don't.
Yeah, you don't.
So 16 points this far this season. That might be considered a little bit of a disappointment because of all the preseason hype for this Stars team.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's a chemistry problem, not a talent problem because...
And I think under Hitchcock, they've got to learn his system, and I think part of that is the chemistry, learning the system. All of it should come together. I don't know if it comes together this year. If it does, they're in the playoffs, and I don't know that they can compete at a high enough level to win this year. Mm-hmm. But I think going forward, they've got a great start. This is a good young team, a good core to build around, and
they've
with Hitchcock back, I think they can be great.
They've been in 7-3 in the last 10 games. So I think that is something that can be built upon. They had a struggle at the beginning, but they seem to be putting things together now.
Yeah.
Can they continue building onto that? That, to me, does exactly what I just said twice. The fact that they started out slow and hard, and now that they're starting to win more, it looks like a chemistry issue, where they just haven't played enough together. I don't mean chemistry as in the guys aren't getting along. I'm saying they just haven't played together enough where it's second nature to know where the guys are.
Yeah, okay. Who is the next MLB manager to lose his job? Because we have seen so far, even before the season ended, before the World Series ended.
Phillies, Yankees, Nationals, Red Sox, as just to name a few of the teams that have lost their managers.
And now you're looking at potentially the Cardinals, Braves, and Reds, teams that really struggled this year and were expected to be much better. Those managers are on the hot seat. I think Matheny in St. Louis is the one who's going to lose his job first. He's been there for a while. They have not been consistently good under him. They haven't been winning more and more games every year. I think he's the first manager because I think St. Louis has high expectations.
So I would say Cincinnati Reds, but his option got picked up.
Yeah.
But since then, he is sunken deep into that hot seat, and if he doesn't perform well the first probably quarter of the season, next year, he'll be gone.
Yeah, I absolutely think so because they don't have a ton of money sunk in him, and he hasn't been producing consistently. In fact, the last time they got in the playoffs was the first year he was a manager with players from Dusty Baker before he left.
And they've only gotten
those weren't his players. Under his players, they've only gotten slightly better since he got on the team in 2013. Yeah.
And to be honest, that is not acceptable. If you bring in a new coach, that is more than enough time to put the staff and the roster together that you want. Your pitching staff, your hitting staff, your lineups. You've had 5 years almost 5 years to trade for players you want, draft players you want, get the staff you want, and they haven't done anything.
No, they haven't.
And whether you need to see, regardless, you need to see one way or the other. You either are going to fall apart or you need to get better. You can't stay status quo.
No, and I think the Braves are another one where, look, you got a young team there. You probably keep Snicker there for a couple more years. Snicker bar. And, maybe you keep him around for another couple of years and see how things work out. But honestly, look, Atlanta's another team like the St. Louis Cardinals who have very high expectations every year from the fans to win games. And they were terrible this last year. So I would look out for him potentially losing his job, if not this year, next year.
Huge scandal in gymnastics.
U.S. Olympic gymnastics, and we always hear about Olympic
and they are the
scandals,
pride,
but
they are the pride of our
of
Olympics.
The United States, yes. Every year, what do you watch as far as Olympics go?
Well, in the last couple Olympics, it's been Michael Phelps.
Yes. Women's soccer.
And women's soccer, because we know they're going to win.
And then women's U.S. gymnastics.
Yes.
That's what everybody watches.
Yep.
That's it.
And if we have a good sprinter, then we maybe watch a little bit of the 100 meters. But we haven't, since Michael Johnson and his gold shoes.
Yeah, the gold shoes, since the gold shoes disappeared, we haven't seen it much. But Larry Nassar, he was a trainer, doctor for the U.S. women's Olympic team. And he's been involved in a number of scandals which have just kind of come to light in the last few years. But these things go back into 1978 when he first became a student trainer.
In high school?
Yes, in high school. Things have started coming out really quickly after that.
And then less than a year later, he became a gymnastics athletic trainer for the U.S. nationals team.
Yeah,
U.S. national team.
And it's gone crazy since then, and really only in the last year or so has a lot of this come out. All this includes recent U.S. gymnast Michaela Marini. Remember, she was the girl who made the look with her face on national television and became a huge meme. Well, apparently she was one of the girls that was abused by this guy. And this is unacceptable because if you think about the women's, they aren't track runners who are adults.
No, they're kids.
They aren't swimmers who are adults.
No, they're in that gray area.
These are kids.
But they're in that gray area, right?
And I'm not giving them 15 to 18 years old. These are kids.
And we've got to be careful because, like you said, they're not Michael Phelps who's almost 30. Gymnastics has a whole different set of rules. When you get to 20, 21, 22, 23, you're out of your prime.
Yes.
They really.
It's a bit creepy.
Yeah, but they focus on
gymnastics as Olympics.
Flexibility, which as you get older it goes away.
Yeah.
They do it as being able to recover quickly, which is something that goes away as you get older. And as we've seen a lot of times with Russia and with China, in the Chinese Olympics and the Russian Olympics, they falsify documents and they get 12, 13, 14-year-olds on their teams instead of 16.
Yeah.
You remember, you see some of these girls that come out on the national teams for China, and you're like, there is no way that girl is 16 years old.
Yeah.
She looks like she's 10.
But he was doing this.
And so that's what you're saying, that there is a problem. You cannot abuse children.
And the U.S. Olympics was really just letting this go by. And there's a huge problem. Let me just read something quick, is that some coaches are fired and go from gym to gym without being tracked or flagged by USA Gymnastics or losing their membership from the organization. So they're getting caught for doing something naughty, and then they just go somewhere else and do the same thing. And they go to the next place and they do the same. And USA Gymnastics is doing nothing about it. They have no idea that these coaches are getting fired. They have no way to track them. I think there's something that's got to change.
It's called getting law enforcement involved.
And this is not just gymnastics. My guess is this is pretty widespread, especially with women's national teams. I would
women's
guess that
sports in general, I think, probably have a bigger abuse problem than
especially at the youth level, and I think it's a problem that USA Gymnastics is going to struggle with.
I hate to say it is really hard to physically abuse full-grown men. It's harder. You know, when you don't see it, you never see it in football.
Yeah.
Because the average guy on a football team,
unless they're abusing each other.
Yeah, unless they're abusing each other. But you don't see coaches and people doing unwanted abuse on a 6'8", 300-pound lineman because you know that they could kill you. So what it is they're taking advantage of children. So this is not just abuse. This is child abuse.
Yes.
This is pedophilia. Yes, pedophilia.
It is.
And there needs to be something done. And whether that means we need to punish, and I know this sounds crazy, they need to punish the whole system and get it kicked out, at least for an Olympics. And what will happen is that's going to shake up.
Yes.
They say, we are not going to let you back in until you show us that you can track these people and you've done something about it. Because we can't let that...
We can't allow any more Larry Nassars into any of our Olympic programs.
You can't play whack-a-mole with children.
Yes.
You can't. It's wrong.
Yeah. Yep, and tomorrow we're going to have a lot more college football. We'll have Matt Wixon talking about FISD football.
Mac Engel
talking TCU versus Oklahoma, the big local game.
I was going to see if he could catch that.
I caught it a little bit late that time. Next on Off the Bench.